what's going on? This is going to be Donnie coming to you from Osaka, Japan, back at you again. Again, these podcasts are going to start coming at you guys a lot more because we got a lot of, I guess, spare time you can see out there. But I got one of the guys with me. Some of you guys who watched all the YouTube videos, you know this guy. If you don't, I'll let him introduce himself in a second. But the YouTube community is it's vast. But within that vastness, there's good content. And this guy right here, Albo, he's one of the guys that put out the best content out there. I've followed you a while before I've actually known you. So it's actually good to sit down and finally get the chance to talk to you and all the stuff. But for the guys that don't know you, for the first 5 minutes, of my analytics say people kind of check out after 10 minutes. So let's let the guys know where they can find your media at and all your links and things like that.
Yeah, sure, man. Thanks for having me on your show. So my name's Albo. I'm originally from Canada, and I've been here in Japan for just about 10 years now. I make videos about Japanese car culture. I love making documentaries. So I love people as well as the cars, and I love the intersection of that. So I love trying to figure out where culture meets history meets these amazing cars that are like super beautiful from an artistic point of view. So that's just kind of been my passion for the past, I could say, 10 years since I came to Japan. I really started chasing that dream. And now I live in Yokohama. I used to live in the countryside of Gunma, which is where Initial D takes place. And when I was there, originally I started the channel just to kind of document my life and just to show my friends and my family really kind of like what I'm up to, and just to introduce them to like daily life stuff that I found really interesting, like kotatsu. You know kotatsu, right? It's like for folks who don't know, it's a low table that has a blanket and a heater, and it sounds really weird when I explain it to people. So I just made a video and then I showed them, and then they were like, "That's really cool." And then I realized, oh, actually, I can kind of introduce just like these little snippets of my daily life, and my friends and my family thought it was really interesting, and I just started doing that little by little, and I was always into making movies since high school at least, and we can dive into that a little bit later, but I was into making like martial arts movies, and I've been doing martial arts for like half my life, and
I noticed.
Yeah, like not as technical and cool as you, man. But I was into the stuff.
No. I mean, it was just cool to see. I didn't like, again, man. You get to know people and you see the stuff. And as you post, man, your posts are always very engaging. And I've seen you doing the you were doing like kind of like a kickboxing or something like that. Or Muay Thai?
There's a Muay Thai gym nearby I live. Unfortunately, right now because of the COVID situation, and everyone's staying home. But I can't wait to get back there and hit the bags again. It's just the best after like a long day of work. You just want to just go at the bags for a bit. Oh, I miss it.
Yeah, I got my mats like right out here with me, and I haven't got like right now. I set everything up, man, and it's like COVID. This, it's life, and it just canceled. It cancels like everything that people had planned, and all the stuff happened, man. So I got these mats. I paid about $500 for all these mats, and I haven't used them once, other than my own personal warm ups and my kids. But eventually, man, everything will get back to normal and things like that, man. But yeah, man, again, like I said on the message you earlier, I didn't expect to get you on the same day, and I was kind of expecting to get you on a little bit later. But man, your posts are always, I'm a pretty motivated guy, but when I see guys in your circle such as yourself and doing things, man, it's like people might think that those motivational posts don't mean anything, man. But I check them out. I'm always pretty high spirited, man. But then
I appreciate it, and actually. That's an interesting point because I think about that a lot sometimes. Now, on some level, it's kind of like sometimes I feel like I wonder if people actually take anything from it, or if it's just kind of like if there's a point to it. But every so often I get like a nice really long email from somebody or a nice really long DM, and they say, "Oh, thank you so much for blah 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 for the motivation and the inspiration." And then what I really like sometimes is some folks actually like they tell me like they started listening or paying attention to like my silly content a year or two ago, and then they took that to heart, and like 2 years later they basically gave me an update on what they've been up to, and I'm like, oh man, that is awesome. Like that is then I realize I'm just like some guy, right? And I'm just like kind of talking about like what I'm just doing in my own life, and then that actually has like a positive effect on at least one other person. And I feel like that's just pretty incredible. And I think you know, back in the day before the internet, we didn't really have this kind of chance to be able to help and inspire so many people around the world. So I'm just really, really grateful for that opportunity. Really, yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So like for your YouTube channel, like and everything, so you actually started it here in Japan, like your channel, or did you have? Was it open before you got
so,
it?
I mean, I think if I look at when the channel was actually started, I think it was something like 2007 or something. And at the time, it's like people didn't really know what to use YouTube for. It was so I used to make videos with my friends so we would go to the gym, not like the gym to work out, but like either a martial arts gym or a gymnastics gym. And basically we would just like shoot clips of each other, like doing flips and stuff. And then we would edit those clips into something called a sampler, which is basically it's called a tricking sampler, because tricking is kind of like the name for a type of sport, which is like extreme martial arts. But the precursor to that was actually what people would make were called demo reels, and essentially they were for folks who wanted to get into stunt work in movies. And so when I was like 13 or 14, I was like, my dream was to be in like a Jackie Chan movie someday. And me and my friends, I joined Kung Fu and then I joined Taekwondo specifically so I could learn the skills to one day be able to do a tryout for like a martial arts movie. And what we were seeing was these folks who were recording themselves doing like flips and doing like short fight scenes, and then they would put them together into a video and then upload them onto like a server, and then they would upload them onto, there were like these old platforms like what were they? Like Daily Motion or
yeah.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. Yeah. Oh man, we are really showing a range over here. But this was back in the day, man. And like this was at really the birth of internet video, and at the time, there really wasn't anything like a vlog or anything. So this didn't really become a thing until I think like 2011 or 2012. So actually, just fast forward. So for the first few years, I was making like these movies with martial arts movies with my friends, and we were just looking for a place to host them. And then so we hosted them on YouTube, not really understanding what it would become kind of culturally and like how important it would become for like our society. Like it would become like this next media kind of a pillar of media, right? And then fast forward to like 2010 when it came to Japan, I actually was more interested in blogging actually than making videos. And the reason is because what got me interested in coming to Japan in the first place, one of the things was there was and is still this really amazing blog by this guy named Az. And it was a blog about teaching English in Japan on the JET program. And that's kind of like how I found about how the program that I came to Japan in, which is the JET program. And Az was this fella from the States who came to Japan, and he was one of the first guys to really blog about his experience. And the way he did it was super, super, super funny and relatable, because he had all these crazy stories, which were basically just snippets of his daily life. And so do you know the term gaijin smash? So he's actually the guy who coined that term. And because he said, like, when I'm out and about, like, he's like this big black guy, and he was always noticing that like there was this cultural bubble that would be around him, right? And so he termed that like the gaijin smash. And I was like, oh, this is so interesting, right? And like I found it really relatable, and so I wanted to have those same experiences. So then I applied to JET, I got into it, and then I came to Japan, and I was like, I want to do something like what this guy was doing. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna start my own blog, and it was called the JET Experience. And I think you can still find it if you search. And my channel actually started as a tie-in to that blog. It was a blog on WordPress. And what I would do is like I would have like a long blog post, and then I would have like a video to tie into that blog. but then, as the years went on, it's like people were using or reading blogs less and less, and they were watching
Right.
videos more and more, and people were using their smartphones more and more, and that kind of rekindled my love for like video production. And yeah, just ever since then, it's been a crazy ride, and like I've just been loving making movies ever since, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy like that. Again, like you say, it's always that. And when you first start something, you never realize where it's going to go. And it's just like we all kind of like when we were younger, we see like what's in front of us, and it's not until we get older we kind of see like, or we start to like project into the future. Because when you're young, you just see like you go to school, you get home, you play with your friends, and you repeat it. And then as you get older, you realize it's more to life than just that. So then when you started, then you fast forward, man. Like I said, when you seen that guy's blog, you got inspired by him. You become you enter into the Jet program yourself, and then bam, fast forward 10 years later, you got 200,000 subscribers, and it's crazy, man. Like how a lot of guys, they don't have that tenacity to stick it out. Like because when you first start, like I say with your channel, it's relatable. You first start, you get 100 subscribers, then you get 200, then you get that bump, and then you put out one video that you don't even think it's going to be that video, and then that video becomes the video that people start to subscribe to you and capture, man. So this is I just for me, man, it's just it makes me happy, man, that you stuck with it, and now you're off to the races, man. And different. I know you spoke about some of the things you got going on in the background as much as you could on YouTube, man. But I'm extremely happy for the progression and everything. And I've seen some of your videos way before we met, like so it's kind of cool to actually, because you see so many videos from people you never meet, and all the content out there. And YouTube, with the internet, man, is great to be able to like act for us. We're both in Japan. With people who don't know, we're about 8 hours apart from each other, but scheduling and everything, we'll link up. But the technology now, it makes conferences better. But one thing for technology is there's so much content now in every facet of music, videos. You can go on YouTube and learn within a day how to use Photoshop, how to use Adobe Premiere, how to use Final Cut. And it's like, so now the separation between the guys who are putting out really good content now, so all the guys who are putting out good content, now you got to really step your game up to really take yourself away from it. We'll talk about that a little bit later, man. But again, your initial time, you say, like you brought up, you used Jet program to come here. So are you still in Jet, or are you doing something else now, or what are you?
So the thing with Jet, right? It's so when I initially came here, I thought I was going to be here for like 1 or 2 years, but I fell in love with so much that I decided to extend my contract every year. But the maximum was actually 5 years. So I did 5 years on the Jet program, and then I ended up doing another 2 years working at an eikaiwa, which is a conversation school, where basically, and the style of this one was basically I would sit down across from a table, kind of like what we're doing right now, and I would just have a conversation with somebody for like an hour, and then like I actually really loved that job, because it was kind of like practice for like this situation right here. Like essentially what I would do is I would go in and for like 6 hours a day, I would have a conversation with somebody one-on-one, and I would have to basically keep that conversation going. And then so it taught me a lot about like psychology, and also about how to talk to people, and it even brought my own confidence up. There were a lot of good things about it, and the reason I bring that up is because a lot of folks have this impression that working at an eikaiwa is kind of like the lower rung of work here in Japan for foreigners. And I think that's not necessarily the case. I think there's a lot you can learn from it, and that's kind of how I try to approach everything. Just like you might be in like a situation that's not so great, but there's always something you can learn from it, and there's always like a story that you can pull out of it for later on. But to answer your original question, so I did Jet for 5 years, and then I worked in that eikaiwa for 2 years. And then I actually moved to Tokyo, and I started working at a tech company. And I can't talk about it because it's under NDA actually, but actually, yeah, I mean, it's been really great, and I was really, really lucky actually to be able to come work in Tokyo. And I guess if I could offer some advice for folks, it would be especially for folks who are working here in Japan, like maybe you're teaching English and now you want to move to Tokyo and you want to figure out how to do that. What I would recommend, and the way I did it, was I went through a recruiter who specialized in the IT industry, and that they were able to put me in touch with like big companies, like like Amazon and like Netflix and like like what's it called, like Epic Games, and I was getting these crazy interviews for all these like big companies. And the second half of that, of course, is you need to have like some sort of like skill, right? And I think for a lot of folks who start something like this, like a podcast or like a YouTube channel, at the beginning, it's like you barely know anything, right? You're just kind of figuring everything out as you go along. You don't necessarily go to school for like IT or for to become like a sound engineer. But what I found was like in the process of creating my own content, I kind of became an expert in like these different fields, and like video production and like sound production and like making websites, and like I was able to understand like CSS and HTML and how to put together websites.
Yeah.
Right. And then so even though I didn't have any I didn't work in a company doing that before, I was able to talk about that during interviews, and then I was able to get a job pretty smoothly. So that's what I would say to folks, and it's that you could come to Japan and you could follow the path that I did, which was to come here, work as an English teacher, which is actually really interesting because you can come live in places like Gunma or some countryside area, which is the lifestyle is it's like you're living in an anime. It's literally like you're in like Studio Ghibli or something in a lot of respects.
Yeah, the sounds,
right.
The smells, everything, man. It's
right.
Like,
I'm sure you walk down the street, right? And you're dude, I'm living in an anime. This is literally an anime.
Well, the funny thing about that, man, is the first. I told a story before. When I went to college back in 2003, I went to University of Maryland, and the first thing I did in college, the first night was I watched College Girls Gone Wild in college in the dorms. And then when I got here, my very first night in Japan, I stayed in was it Narita? Well, no, I flew into what? Which one is the international? Narita or Haneda is the international?
I think both are now, but maybe at the time you were in Narita.
So you fly into Haneda, then I think you take the bus to Narita, then you fly to Misawa. So the first night in the hotel, I had my laptop. First thing I watched from the hotel is Initial D. Like it's just like I just had to. It's like I'm in Japan watching Initial D, dude. It's like a surreal moment, and I watched it multiple times. And then to actually go down to Mount Haruna, which is Akina for the guys who don't know, which is Mount Akina is based in Mount Haruna. I know you know that, but to actually go down there, we went down there for a family trip, and again I watched it again down there. I'm at Mount Akina watching Initial D. And then the drive out there and everything, man. So it's kind of, it's those little geek things you do.
I loved it. Like, for me, that is half.
Yeah.
No, that's like 90% of like the joy of living in Japan. It's like you can look at it two ways. You can become really jaded, and you can get really annoyed about everything in Japan, which I see a lot of guys do, a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's always that magic that you saw when you first came to Japan, which is why you wanted to live here and stay here in the first place. And if you just focus on that, then like for me, it's never quite gone away. And I'm very thankful that I was able to hold on to that feeling. It's definitely because I'm a huge geek, and right. So and but I love moments where I'll be like walking past like a rice field, and I'll be like I remember when I was like 14 and I saw this exact type of scene in a Studio Ghibli movie or in some anime that I used to watch back in the day, like Love Hina or something, like in the onsens, and I was like, my gosh, I can't believe I'm able to live this out. And then, like you were saying, with Initial D, right? Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're good, man. You're here.
Oh, geez, yeah. Like, so for me, right, when I came to Japan, I was sent to live in Gunma. It wasn't a choice for me. On the JET program, you can make a request. You can actually make 3 requests. But I think what happens is when they get your request, they just kind of look at it and just throw it in the garbage. And then they're just like, he's going there, and just completely randomly. So I originally chose for no good reason actually. I didn't know very much about the geography of Japan, but I chose Akita because one of my best friends did a homestay there, and he reported that Akita is known for the most beautiful girls in Japan. So, yeah, so
True.
I chose that. I chose Kobe because it was between Osaka and Kyoto, and there was a legend that if you wrote down Osaka or Kyoto, that they would definitely not send you there. And then I chose Chiba, and the reason I chose Chiba was because I thought it appeared in Great Teacher Onizuka. And then so I think what they did was they looked at those 3 points, and then they chose the middle part, which was Gunma, and they sent me there. And then when I got the letter, I remember getting the letter. It was like this yellow envelope. It was really heavy. I don't know why I remember that exact detail, but I was like, this is a really heavy envelope. It must have been good paper. So I open it up, take it out, and for Jet, everyone is always like super, super, super excited and nervous about finding out where they're going to be placed, because some folks get like Yokohama or Tokyo, which is like the golden placement, or like Kyoto City. Like my little sister did get that placement actually, like 5 years after I joined. She came as well.
Really?
But for me, I wasn't particularly specific about where I wanted to live, because I was like, this is gonna be my Japan adventure. I'll be there for a couple of years and I'll go back. So I was like, as long as they don't send me into like a village with like 7 people, it'll be fine. So I get the letter and I take it out, and it says, "Congratulations, you're going to be going to Gunma Prefecture." And then, I remember at the time I was with some other like senpai who had done the program before, and I was like, hey, looks like I got Gunma, and they were kind of like, kind of like sucking their teeth in. They're like, and I was like, at the time I didn't even know what that gesture meant, right?
Right.
They kind of do this thing, which is kind of like the like, oh man, kind of gesture. And then they said, inaka dane. Inaka means like countryside, right? And I had for me, Jet meant working in the countryside. So I was like, oh great. But then it was, I think, a couple days later where like the realization hit me like a ton of bricks that I was gonna be going where Initial D takes place. Right? I was like, Gunma, yeah. I feel like I've heard that before. Probably in an anime I watched.
Yeah.
And this is like, like in 2010, back before everybody knew where Initial D takes place. Partially because of us.
Right.
This is our fault. So now I think people are actually requesting Gunma specifically to go live there. Like, I think a bunch of car guys I met did that. But I was like sitting around one day, and I was like, just probably like looking through like some car forums or something, and it mentioned Initial D, and then I was like, hey, I wonder. And then it kind of like clicked in my mind. I was, oh my god. And it kind of like all these like light bulbs like started going.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, if I'm going to Gunma, can I get a car? So the first thing I did was I checked to make sure. I was like, can I get a car? Indeed I can. And I was like, all right, what kind of car can I get? Like, I was like, okay, like just a beater car, right? I was like, get a super cheap car. You just like live out like, at the time, I didn't even know the places in Initial D were real. So it's just like, I know it's like loosely based on Gunma. So then I was like, okay, I wonder what kind of cars I can afford. And I was like, I looked up my salary for like how much I was going to get paid, right? So I was like, okay, so if I save up for a couple months, maybe I can get like some sort of beater, like Honda Civic or something. So I look up and I look up some old cars, and then I was like, whoa, I can save up for like 2 or 3 months and buy like a WRX STI. And this just blew my mind. Like, you don't even understand, man, because Gran Turismo 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like in those games, you could buy the JDM spec, GC8 WRX STI, and but you couldn't buy them in real life in Canada because they never had them. So what we had was a 2.5 RS, and I love the car because of the way it looked and its shape, but to have like the STI version, that's like, man, that's that's like the for Subaristo, that's the holy grail. And I was like, all right, going to Japan, gonna buy a GC8, and so I kind of set my mind to that. So and then I came to Japan and started doing everything on Jet, and I was like, wow, this is like the most amazing thing ever. So we can get into that if you like. But yeah, eventually I did find a GC8 that I was gonna buy, but like a night or two before that, my next door neighbor, whose girlfriend actually owned a black Miata, which I passed by on the way to work every day, he said, we're looking to sell the Miata because we're trying to buy like a bigger car, like an SUV. It's like, why don't you give it a spin? And at the time, my impression of the Miata was like a hairdresser car. So I was really very, very excited about it. But I was like, hey, you know what? I've never driven in a convertible. It seems fun, so I'll give it a shot. Dude, I drove it for like 7 minutes, and I was like, big brain moment, all this calculation starts happening, and then I was like, huh, I can buy this car for half what I was gonna spend for the GC8. I went home and I immediately paid for it, and I was like, done deal. And like I didn't look back for years and years and years until I got my own Durber XSTI, which is a couple years ago. Right. But man, sorry, I just went on forever there. That was a
No, that's fine. That's perfect, man. That's perfect, because a lot of people don't know those like little stories. Like I know you had the Miata that you said was it was black before you painted it yellow.
It was a black one. Then I sold that one.
Okay.
And then I bought a yellow one. So the way.
Okay. See now.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, saying I'm learning about you, man. Because it's like said now I know you have multiple Miatas, not just one.
It was, oh, man. So the first one was Oh, so this was great. So I bought it for $2,000 and I sold it for $4,000. and then I bought the next one for $2,000, also for $2,000. And I remember with the black one, I always wanted to paint it yellow. So, I was like, okay, there's gotta be a cheap, good way to do this. And I was like, gonna spray it yellow plastic. And that would have been the worst idea ever. But actually, the way I found the yellow one was through Reddit. And what happened was I met a friend who was another guy from Toronto who was living in Tokyo at the time, and he was another IT guy. And basically, I made a post on Reddit on r/Miata. It's like, oh, I'm in Japan. This is my car. And then he reached out to me. He was like, oh, I'm also a Miata driver. Let's hang out sometime. So we hung out and became friends. This guy Ed, and when Ed went back to Toronto, or no, she was going to New York. He was like, hey, Albo, do you want to buy my car? I'm leaving. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I've quickly found a buyer for my car, and then I bought that car. And then ever since then, I was like, great, I got my yellow Miata. So I don't know, it was there's just something about yellow convertibles for me.
Well, we definitely gonna talk about the newest yellow Coretta we have, because we're in a topic, man. So you went from that, you got the STI, and then the STI. How long did you have that? You sold that, right?
Yeah. So I had the white one, and oh man, that was a great car. So when I moved to Tokyo, so I moved to Tokyo first. Actually, it was a weird situation because at the time, I was half living in Gunma and half living in Tokyo in Ikebukuro. And the reason was because for folks who are thinking about moving to Japan, there's like a lot of startup costs when you move into a place. You have to pay for like something called key money, which is like this ridiculous fee it's basically like a gift of just like 1 or 2 months worth of rent to express your gratitude to be able to be allowed to live in the apartment. Anyway, it's it's just pain in the ass. Yeah. And so I was thinking, I can't just choose some random place to live. I need to be very careful about where I'm going to live. But and so what happened was I had gotten the job in Tokyo, but I was still living in Gunma. So I was like, okay, but my rent in Gunma was super cheap, right? It was like $400. Yeah. And rent in Tokyo is at least double that. So I was like, I don't want to move into some crappy place and spend like maybe $4 or $5 just to move. But luckily at the time, so I have a friend. He's also another YouTuber. His name is Tokyo Sam. He's kind of infamous. He's infamous for putting the camera on the sushi tray as it went around. Do you remember this incident?
I've heard the name and I've seen some videos.
Yeah, he's a pretty controversial dude, but he's like a super, super nice guy and extremely inspirational and motivational. So, you know, we would have like long chats just inspiring each other. But anyways, he was like, hey, Albo, you know, if you want, you can come live in my apartment, or not my apartment, my house. Because he was renting a house which had like multiple rooms, and he was renting out the rooms to like basically letting people sublet the rooms. And he's like, yeah, you know, you can stay in this little room I have, and for like $400 a month. So it's like, okay, you know what? I can rent that place and keep my old place for the same amount it would have cost to rent a small apartment in Tokyo. So I had two places. Yeah. So it's just juggling two places. Literally, actually, to be fair, it was really what I was doing was I was paying Tokyo Sam $400 a month to live in a freaking closet. Like, it was literally a closet. It was, you know, like in Harry Potter, where like he lives in.
Yeah.
Dude, it was literally that. Like,
yeah, that's the one thing about that area that a lot of it's and even when you went to Guma, you're everybody who's outside of Japan, when you say Japan, they just their mind. I'm pretty sure you've seen a picture. When they say like, oh, this is what everybody else thinks of Japan, this is actually Japan. So it's like they think it's like lights and glamour, and it's just a Lawson's with a dim light lit and moths flying around. And this is so like you've seen both of it, but they think that all Japan is Tokyo. I'm like, dude, Japan. The best way I explain it to guys, Japan is a farm with cities sprinkling here and there. Like, because it look, I mean, top to bottom. I've driven personally from Amori down to Fukuoka. I've driven the whole mainland. I haven't been to Okinawa yet, and I haven't had a reason to go to Hokkaido. So I've been all over mainland, and it's like, dude, it's the same. The architecture, it's the same. It's like, unless you go to Sendai or you go to Kobe or you go to the city, they're pretty much the same. So when guys get here, they're like, you go to Tokyo, then you go 10 yards that way, then you're all in a rice paddy. And then Shibuya is right here. So it's like, it weirds people out when they get here and they finally see the area and how it looks and everything. But the biggest thing is they don't realize the cost of, it's like kind of living in New York, I guess, versus, if you're living, like you said, Guma, or I'm in Masawa, like my shop that I have here, I pay, I don't mind who knows this. I pay roughly around about, roughly $1,000 USD equivalent for my spot here. If I had this same place down in Tokyo, I would easily pay close to $4,000 per month, and that's maybe an understatement.
That's crazy.
So like, yeah, it's and a lot of guys, like you nailed it with the guys that come here. They don't realize you have to pay road tax. You got to pay for your, if you're a foreigner, you got to pay. On visa, you got to pay gaijin tax. You got to pay for a parking permit. You got to pay for all this stuff. So I've had two guys who come here on a jet program, and they had aspirations of being the next D1 driver, and inside of a year they were gone because they realized they're not going to get this really badass 240 or S13 Sylvia. It's just not going to happen, man. And from your story, man, it just seems like you played your cards properly. So I thought it couldn't be done on a jet program, and you just totally blew that myth away, man. So it seems like it's case by case and person by person as to what they can do. And I think it's the mindset, man. Your mindset is just like, I'm here, I'm happy, and not looking at the dregs of the life.
Yeah,
in Japan.
I think there's a lot of interesting things you brought up, and I wish we could spend like another 6 hours to touch on every single point.
Oh man, we'll definitely talk more than one time, man.
This is great. But yeah, like what you were just saying about positivity, I always think it's like a choice. It's literally like a choice you were making in every moment. Like even when things go bad, and this is like a practice that I learned like 20 years ago when I used to be really into. Okay, this is super dorky, but I used to watch like a lot of like self-help tapes and like self-help like DVDs and stuff. Like it's like learn how to become confident, like this kind of thing. I was like really into it. It's really really dorky when I think about it. But no, it was actually really valuable because it was able to instill some concepts that I would test. And then I realized I'm like, actually, this is valid. So, and one of those ideas was that, like being grateful and being positive, it's a good choice. And one of the tips I guess I could give is when something bad is happening, you can always like pull yourself away and and put another emotion on top of that emotion. So like, let's say you are like really like depressed about, let's say you're not making enough money as you want to live your initial D drifter life, right? And you're like really bummed because you're working at like a crappy English school or something, right? So you could just be like depressed about that and angry, or you could then take yourself one layer above that and observe yourself and be curious that you are kind of depressed, and be like, that's interesting. Like, look, like I'm really depressed about this. I wonder if there's anything I can do about it. And then you can like go another layer above that, and be grateful that you're able to be curious about being depressed. So then you kind of trick yourself, and you're like, actually, it's not even a trick. You're literally you're having gratitude for self-awareness, right? And then you can take it one step above that, and then you can be excited, because now you've realized that you're grateful for being curious about your situation, and you're like, oh, now I'm going to do something about it. And that's kind of like how you can change your mindset.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy to do that. And then like then it gets to the point where you, like you say, you pull yourself away. And then like, you know, like that, like you just mentioned, like you step outside yourself and observe, like then you ask yourself, like, why am I even depressed about this? And sometimes they'll be just that enough to get yourself out of it. And then, you know, like you just said, you're sitting, in your case, maybe for example, like you're in Guma or whatever, and like, oh man, this sucks or whatever. Then like you realize, dude, I'm in Japan. I can go outside. I go to Lawson's. I go to the vending machines. All the stuff that you see. So it's and I will say I'm not I don't you know, Japan has its things. Japan is going to be Japan, and we're visitors here. Even no matter how long we live here, we're visitors. Unless you get that, you know, straight up, you know, residency card or whatever. You can't like be mad about the process of Japan. Like for me, it's like I'm like, all right, why are you guys still using fax machines? Like, come on, man. You got email, you got all this stuff. You still use fax machines. Then I fought it for a year. Then I was like, you know what, man, I'll get a fax machine, and now I can talk to HKS and all these guys by fax. And I got to email them. They say fax me the same stuff we just emailed about. And I thought people were like mad about email. So anyway, then I sit back and think, yeah, man, that sucks. I'm not doing D1. I'm not doing Formula Drift this year because I had to started a business 4 years ago, and I knew the sacrifices, and I've done it. But sometimes you want to go. I see your videos. I see other people's stuff, and it's like, man, I want to be out there. I can be. It's 8 hours away. But when I go to Yokohama, it's like I'm down there for business. I'll shake a few hands. I'll do some stuff, and I come back because I got customers waiting. So it's the discipline to stay on course, because, you know, another year or so, everything will be good. You know, it'll be level out and everything. And then I got 25 or 26 cars. I don't know how many cars I have now. I got a lot of cars, man. And then like you got all this stuff, but you're inside of it, so you don't see it.
Right.
And some other dude in Africa, some guy in Africa will be like, dude, I would kill for your worst car.
Yeah, dude, exactly that. I mean, like, I'm just listening to you right now. I'm like, dude, you've literally built a business and a life around what you love, right? I'm not even there yet. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I've got a YouTube channel which a lot of people are watching. I'm still working at like a corporate job right now. Like, granted, it's something that I'm really passionate about, and it's working on projects that I think have a lot of potential and I'm really excited about. But you know, it's all relative. You know, I think I was happy when I was making like a fraction of the money, like, you know, and driving my dinky little Miata, and I'm like the same. I'm actually like the same level of happiness now. Like, you know, there's this concept called hedonic adaptation, and basically it's like it's your level of happiness scales directly proportionally to how much you're achieving or how much you're making. So it's like, even if you got more, you're not necessarily happier. You just got into like this higher point, which actually it's harder to maintain that. And then so if you drop from that level, you feel worse, right? So I don't know where I'm going with that necessarily, but I think you know, I'm just a happy dude. You know, I'm just trying to do my thing, And
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. You got two guys that are really highly involved. Like we didn't get to like the meat of the conversation, but like it's like you got two guys that are heavily involved in the cars. We're both on YouTube, but like we're talking about kind of like philosophy and mindset. And the thing about the guys out there, man, that are watching and listening, it's we all love cars and things like that, but we're all deeper than the actual car. Like I say, Fine Art 3D Martial Arts. Those videos that you talked about, I'm pretty sure I watched some of those videos before because I've seen a lot of those videos back in like I say, right when E-Bomb was still still a thing and StreetFire.net was a thing. I remember watching all those videos, so I'm pretty sure I seen one of your videos, man. If I'll go back and think about it, but it's like we're all we're car guys. We do what we do, man. But behind the production, behind the videos, the reason why your viewers get those videos you get is because you have to have a certain mindset to think about it and have the creative board. And the thing about it too, it's a skill because when you're doing the videos, I'm not sure how your process is, but for me, when I shoot videos, I'm kind of editing as I'm shooting. Like I'll start, and so to make it easier, because if you do something and you shoot it, then you shoot the entry of the track, and then you're like, oh man, I didn't get the entry. So now that file is at the end of your videos, and maybe you won't mix it in there. So now when I roll into the track, I'm shooting as I go into the track. I'm shooting as I go into the pits. That way my files are in it. That's how I do it. My files are in the same order, and I could just put them on a storyboard and trim them and do what I got to do. So that's a skill set that people like, you do it so much that you don't even think about.
Oh, I still think about it all the time, man. Yeah. In fact, I'll go shoot something and then I will realize as I'm driving home, I'm like, oh, I missed this shot. Now the story is kind of like hard to tie together. I need to figure out a way to kind of tie this all together. Or I'll be like starting the day, I'll still be at home, like, hey guys, today, blah, 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 blah. But then I realized later when I'm editing, it's like, I didn't need all that fluff. I should have just started like at the meat of it. Because, people's attention just dips, man. Right? Yeah. So you're always kind of like thinking about these little things for video production, especially for YouTube. Like YouTube is really, really interesting because it really teaches you how to hold people's attention. And what's really cool is they actually give you the analytics so you can actually see it's like, oh, this is exactly the point where people are dropping off. And then you can watch your own video and be like, yeah, that is true. That is kind of shit. That is where I would stop. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I mean, I think it's not really a talent more as it is just a skill. And if there's one talent, it's I think it's humility. And it's like just not thinking like your shit's fire. Sorry for swearing. Right.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I think I try to be critical of what I produce, but not like beating myself up for it, but just kind of like observing it. Like actually, like was that good or was that not? And then I'll watch like a lot of other creators' stuff, and I'll be like, oh, the way they did that is really good. So I'll be like thinking about my video while thinking about another video, and then I'll come up with a realization. And actually, I was just talking to a friend about this. Sorry, excuse me while I move this whole setup over here because this is literally battery's dying. So 1 second. No problem. Move this over here. So check this out. This is my light stick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like look like a lightsaber.
Yeah, and it changes color too. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Oh, shit, depending if you're a Jedi or a Sith.
Yeah. So is it light or is it a lightsaber?
No. It's a light. It's just a light. Okay, 1 second. Let me move this over here. All right, here we go.
No editing, guys. This is the behind the scenes, the stuff that really happens here on videos and YouTube and everything, man. Like, see, this is stuff that like a lot of we were talking before we got started, guys, out there. Like we're having sync issues, and then like the video comes up. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes and his videos and my videos that you never see. Because I got for most of my videos, guys, out there, like while he's doing that, most of my videos at the track. I only have one camera. Like actually the camera I use for years is actually the one that's on the wall recording this feed for the podcast. When I go to the track now, I got one GoPro because I got rid of the old camera. So when you see those driving a car, when you guys out there see like the when you see the car switching around or the view switching around, that's me doing a lap. and then coming back and changing the camera every time. So like and if I crash a car on a second lap, then guess what? The video's not gonna get finished. So like that's a lot of the stuff that you guys will see. Like for you, like get that stuff get set up. You're good to go right there.
Yeah.
All right. So for your while I was just kind of talking about my cameras, like how many cameras do you actually utilize for your production?
That's a good question, because I feel like these days I could literally get away with just using my iPhone.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like you don't need, like back in the day I would have all these cables and adapters and things and stuff like that. Now, honestly, like for example the GoPro, the audio is a little bit better, but it still sucks. But the quality is amazing, and it's just like you got one little bag and you got the little adapter to put it in there to screw it onto a tripod, and your gear is just so like minimalized now,
it
man.
is minimal, but what's really fun too is if you want to get into the cinematic production aspect of it, that can be like really, really fun too. So I'll show you a couple things. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah,
okay,
no problem. Yep. All right, cool. While he's doing that again, guys, we're just talking about he's going to get the cameras and stuff like that. But guys, just go ahead and make sure you send your questions to podcast@pinkustyle.com. And, if you got any questions, topics, and things like that, we'll get to it. Right now in this conversation is just a conversation. So we roll, we talk, and we do things. So there's no like really guide. But if you got any questions or topics, any questions for Albo on the next episode, just let us know. All right, so what do you got there, man?
So just a couple of pieces of gear that I thought would be interesting to show. Like I was saying, so I shoot with the iPhone 11 Pro. Man, for the price, like these are expensive as heck. But actually, if you think about how much you use your phone, like you're literally on it like half the day. I'm really ashamed to it'll show like how much you're looking at your phone throughout the day. I don't even try to look at that anymore. I justify it to myself because I'm like, I'm a YouTuber, content creator. I need
like that's all you need. As long as you justify it to yourself in your mind, you're good. For me, I'm always on it, but it's always business. So like I listened to like one guy for Valuetainment. He puts out a lot of content, and he's like, yeah, man, if you're not killing your phone twice in one day, you're not busy. And that's how he justifies. He's on the meetings and he's calling people. And I use like the phones are like it's a staple part of technology.
It literally does everything. And then I love because it's got like 3 cameras, right? So you got your super wide, which can technically eliminate your GoPro. You have the long lens, which is actually very, very good for capturing something a little bit further away. But the normal lens is really great for vlogging too, right? So I think if you just want to start putting out content like on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or something, this is all you need actually. So I think, for example, if you were like a budding YouTuber, you think it's all about the gear, you can literally get to like 100,000 subscribers with like a phone. It's not at all about the camera equipment. That being said, I'm a geek, so I want to show you some of the things that are good.
No problem, man. Thanks.
Let's see. Okay, so my newest purchase over here. So it's these 2 things. And this is okay, let me show you. All right, so we need this cable instead. So this is a wireless mic setup. And as you know, audio is like one of the most important things, because if you can't hear what's going on, if there's too much background noise, then people will like complain incessantly, and they'll also just stop watching the video. But especially if you're talking to the camera and it's like outside and it's windy. And especially as you know, if you're shooting like at a drift event and there's just like so much going on, it's too loud, right? And so I experimented with like a bunch of different setups, like wireless labs, and I just wanted something that was wireless. And like most people have something like this, which is like a shotgun mic, right? And it's gonna be on the phone, and you'll be like this distance, which is fine. But like this is a really cool piece of kit. And the way that I find is like super, super cool is when you connect this to your iPhone, actually, because then your phone becomes it becomes so versatile, and you can mount it in your car, for example. Okay, so let me just over here. I'll just show you this little setup over here. All right, so the way this would work is you have your iPhone, right? And then it would go onto this little smartphone mount. And then it's attached to this vacuum mount. So when you attach it somewhere solid and press this little thing here, it's going to suck all the air out and make it like a super, super tight fit. And then what you do is you take, I got to get the cable for this now. Okay, where's that? Here we go. So what's annoying is with Apple, you got to get these connectors, these special connectors.
Yeah, adapters, everything.
So that connects to there, right? So that you can plug this to your lightning port, right? And then that then will allow you to mount this on this hot shoe mount. And then now you have this incredibly, incredibly versatile wireless lab setup. And like this thing was like, I think $200. Yeah, just about $200. It is so worth it, dude, that everybody I talk to, I'm like, you should buy this like literally today if you're making content.
Yeah.
Super good.
Yeah.
So this is a super cool thing. The other thing I shoot with for more cinematic stuff is this. I'm gonna show you. So so this is the big guns, right? So what I want to show you guys is actually not this. Okay, so this is a really good camera. This is a Panasonic Gh4. But what do you think this thing is?
It's wide angle or a filter or like something like that. It looks
okay.
What does it do?
Okay.
What is it?
Okay, give me another hint. Okay, this is the lens. This is the actual lens. Okay.
Yeah.
This. Any ideas?
No, I don't.
All right. Okay. Let me just dude. Let me just blow your mind over here. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna open up this app called Parrot on my phone, and I'm gonna pull open this file. So any ideas? I'm gonna combine these two together.
The phone and the that little screen you got right there, the adapter. So like, does it make I'm guessing it takes the field of vision, I guess, and it changes like is it like a wide angle or not like a fish lens or something like that, but
all right.
It seems like it would do something like it's gonna make the image.
Okay, let me show you. Here we go.
All right, so that's your phone. Oh, no shit, man. No shit. Like a little, is that like a HUD?
Yeah, it's like, called a teleprompter. So
you can actually you're reading off of that.
Right, exactly.
Like,
so
okay.
it's what pros use at like news or late night hosts.
No shit, teleprompter.
Exactly.
A mini teleprompter. It's a
mini teleprompter,
crazy.
And it just attaches right to the lens. And this thing is a game changer, man, because it eliminates all your ahs and ums, and you can script everything out.
Right.
And you can deliver it like you're delivering, literally like you're delivering you're narrating a documentary. So that's what I use it for, right?
Right.
So, and this thing is just amazing.
That's crazy, man.
So that thing's awesome.
That's definitely next level, because that's one of the things, man. When you don't realize, even when the podcast besides, like you say, talking to yourself and other guys, man, and it just, because I don't talk to people a lot when I work by myself.
Yep.
So when you get in a situation where you don't talk to people a lot, you still have conversations, but you don't realize just like this podcast, man, is like it increased like listening skills. Just like actually listening to everything you say instead of like listening and then like holding on to the thought that you want to blurt out. I just like, if I forget it, I'll forget it, whatever. But the ums and the stutters and everything, you don't realize how much you say until you go back and watch yourself. Like, then I remember one time I used to edit, like I used to go back and literally edit those up, and I was like, I just need to get better at talking, because it's too much to edit. And then you see those videos, which I remember that one, it was like maybe 2013 or 2014, where everybody's making those videos where they would just be so choppy, like you know exactly what I'm talking about. It just be like, yeah. I'm like, God damn, dude, like you can't talk more than 10 seconds without. It's like, dude, and then now you notice people's like, dude, that's annoying. And I noticed like it just overnight, like a lot of people don't do it as much, maybe once or twice or 3 times in a video, but not every 5 seconds.
I know what you mean.
Like,
before it was literally like every third word. right?
Yeah.
And that's interesting
Yeah.
because that's kind of like a YouTube style, actually.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. Yeah.
and like that would never fly on like normal TV, but it's
Right.
accepted on YouTube. And what I've been trying to do is, and I think a lot of folks have been as well. It's like as much as possible reduce reliance on that editing technique,
Right.
because it's not that it's like amateur, but it's very YouTubey.
Mm.
And if you have like an
Mm.
ambition to go beyond YouTube, or like which
Right.
is like what I did, then it's very difficult because that's actually a skill set that you need to have, which is presenting and being engaging for the camera without having to rely on editing later on to cut your uhs and ums, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really interesting point, man. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
tough, making videos is not easy, but
Yeah, it's not. It's one of those things you get like for the, I guess, my transition from my video to making a podcast. It wasn't difficult because I was already doing it like before. You were already doing like because before my YouTube was just videos, and then one of the people was saying, "Hey man, could you tell us more about Japan?" And I was like, "Hey, why not?" So I started making videos like kind of like a vlog, a hybrid vlog where I wasn't doing the whole like, "Hey, I'm waking up, I'm drinking coffee." I would, like you say, I would get to it at the event. Hey, I'm at the BC circuit, Manami circuit. We're going to do D1 divisionals, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Get right into it from that point. And people start to like it. And then for me, I had my technique that I used because I watched videos. I didn't like where guys would do the vlog. And then they would say, let's go to the car. And then they were actually showed walking down the steps, walking outside. And then, for me, I would cut that out personally. But then it wouldn't become a vlog because you're not showing the whole process, and they don't know if you're doing this before that. So my videos, man, when I made them, I had like no dead space. Like it was just like action, action. And then people, I didn't realize some people like the actual, hey man, I'm gonna go to Lawson's and buy some black, so I can drive down to Yokohama. And this black is gum, a really pepperminty gum, I guess you would call it or whatever. It keeps you awake. And people, so it's the one thing about YouTube, and I'm pretty sure you experience this too, man, is like, who do you cater to, and like it's like finding a happy medium because it's hard to please everyone. Some guys want to see just action and noise and fireballs and girls, and some guys want to see you eating ramen. And it's like, it's weird.
I mean, dude, the way I think about it is you gotta basically make what you want to make. And the reason is it's essentially the people who comment, they don't represent like everybody. Actually, they're just the people who have taken the time to comment what they like or they don't like. So if you actually pander to what they want, and it goes against what you want to make, then you're kind of like building a box around yourself, and if you start making that kind of content, what's going to happen is the YouTube algorithm, will start promoting that content that you're making to the types of people who want to watch that content. So if you had stuck to your guns, let's say you love making videos where half the videos you at Lawson eating an onigiri and just talking about how much you love onigiris, what's going to happen is you're going to build an audience who loves watching you talk about eating onigiris. They're going to be like, I really relate to that. That's awesome. I love this combination of eating convenient foods and driving. Like that by itself, that's an entire show. That's an entire channel, right?
Yeah.
So you got to stick to your guns, and you got to make exactly just what you want to make. And I think for me, that's why I've been able to do this for so long, because, I basically, what I do is I watch other stuff and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I'll watch other stuff, be like, oh, that's really cool. I'll watch like a Vice documentary, be like, oh, that's I like all these things. What if I just make something that's like all these things I like put together? So I just make that, and I have a really fun time making that. And then like later on, I might realize, okay, this part was boring. I can just do that differently next time. But basically, like piece of content by piece of content, I think I just try to make what I want to make, and just try to make it to like the best of my ability. And I think as you get better at gauging, comparing your content to like other people's content. And you're like, like when you look back, if you have some level of self-awareness, you can be like, yeah, that was pretty shit. And then hopefully you get better 2 years later and you make something that can be comparable to something that you actually enjoyed, and then you're able to make something that is what you would want to watch and what you do find enjoyable, and then YouTube will find people who like that content and show it to them. And I think the other really important part of it, and I think this goes really for any type of content, whether you're making content for YouTube or you're just making posts on Instagram or you're doing TikTok dances, maybe less for TikTok dances.
Yeah.
But very much so, especially for YouTube. It's the channels that have like the most longevity, and by longevity I mean the person making it actually wants to keep making it, is when it's built around like your personality, right? Because then you're just being you, and you've gotten used to being on camera, and then it's just very natural, right? So like I think what's really difficult is if you put up like this mask, or you make this character, right? And then you're kind of like stuck in that.
You can tell, yeah. Especially when people, my buddy, I'm gonna actually clip it out because it was funny as hell, because he was like, hey man, he was like talking about meeting YouTubers, because he's a YouTuber as well, a vlogger, and he was like, man, I could tell some people when they right before they press record, he's like, man, he just kind of like be like he was like psyching himself up, like, and then they like psyching themselves up to be somebody they're not. So when somebody meets me in person, it's like you're the same guy that you see, and then like you say, you're not burnt out by trying to be like trying to, maybe say if you're trying to like model yourself after Steve-O or something like that. Like you're trying to act, even though you're nothing like Steve-O. Steve-O, like you know Steve-O from Jackass. Yeah. That's Steve-O. That's the reason why he works so well, is because that's him. Yeah. And
somebody's just pointing a camera at him, right? He's just being himself, and he's just crazy.
That's just him, and that's the easiest thing to do, man. The hardest thing in life, man, is honestly to be fake, man. And so many people, I talk to other guys who create content, they just get burnt out because that persona that they were putting out there, they couldn't maintain that for 3-5 years. It's just like after a certain amount of time, you just get tired of being it, and you just as a person, you also change. So you're like, hey, yeah, that's stupid. I'm not gonna do that no more.
Oh yeah.
But when you're actually yourself. You're not going to change much.
Oh, yeah.
You're just going to be like that.
So, like 3 to 5 years, that's easy. Think 10 years, like 10, 15 years. Because like, if you are seriously thinking about, building a brand that has longevity and that it will actually be able to like support your entire life, like, unless you are showing content that has value, that is like not you, which is also really difficult, because then it can be commodified, and other people can do that idea. But nobody can be exactly you.
Right.
But if you're just yourself, then it's a lot easier to keep it going. And the flip side to that, I think, is I definitely notice, like, even for myself, like I have when I'm just like chill, just like
Oh yeah.
And you got to turn it on for the camera. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like it becomes kind of like a part of you as well. And then some people are like, oh yeah, you're like a different person when you shoot videos. But it's actually not. I think if you're just trying to be authentic with yourself, and you watch your videos later, and then you're self-critical, and you're like, actually, yeah, I was kind of boring like that. Maybe I should try to like be a little bit more Genki. And I really learned this like when I was like an English teacher, right? Because like when you're teaching a group of kids, it's like you can't just be like your normal, chill, lazy self sometimes, right? You gotta like hype them up. You gotta be another. You gotta show us another side of yourself. So I think you just have to find that side of yourself that is very like that outgoing personality, and that the individual in yourself that wants to shine and show your gift to the world. And yeah, man, I think it's everyone's got that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's there. It's not though. For me, I just personally I didn't feel like I had to. I just when I turned the camera on, and one thing I did, I try to smile a little bit more, because I'm not naturally a smiling person. And then like the resting bitch face, man. And people like Japanese are like afraid of me, man. Like when I go to a track meet, I honestly, I'm guilty of this. Sometimes depending on the energy I get from the people that are there, because I go around a lot, and then you can tell, man, you've been here, you're a gaijin and everything, and when you first go to a new setting, sometimes if you don't know people there, they kind of like, well, who's this guy? What is he about? So they kind of like themselves apprehensive, and then after they see something or there's something or somebody will introduce, then all of a sudden, like, maybe 30 minutes later, they'll come over and want to talk to you and everything. Or for me, it's like every time I love it because they don't like, can this guy really drive? And I'll go out there and like slay the track. Then I'll come back and then they'll be like, hey, like, my name is Takami or whatever. And then we'll start talking. We add each other on Facebook. We've been buddies for like 10 years now. And it's Japan is like that. Japan, for the guys who don't know, Japan is very cliquish. So if you go to the track, there'll be like 30 or 40 different, like at a big event, there could be 30 or 40 different little groups that won't really talk to each other, but they'll acknowledge each other, but they'll stay in their little groups. There'll be 1 or 2 guys or 2 or 3 guys or whatever. The smaller events is like, it's not that much, but it is cool. So when you guys come here, don't feel discouraged or don't feel like you're being disrespected because they don't come to you right away and talk about your car because they've seen Sylvia's that's here. They don't care about your car. So it's just a really odd thing, man. But kind of like move because that's one of the things we could talk about forever, man. You mentioned you're in Guma. One of the things in Guma was the actual D's Cafe. I'm pretty sure you've been to there.
Lots of times.
Yeah. So I went to D's Cafe, and he's one of those, like, the owner of D's Cafe, man. He's like, my wife was talking to him. He's not really a car. He's into cars, but he's not really. When I seen a cafe, I thought he'd be like all kinky about talk. Like, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. He's kind of like a really mellow, monotone guy.
Yeah.
And like, it kind of threw me off. I was like, does he don't like me? She's like, no, that's just him. And but the reason I brought that up, man, is because like one thing I really want to talk about, what you mentioned before with the car thefts. His car has been he had the Hashiroku that he sold.
That's right.
And the guy didn't pay him for it, which he had utilized too much trust. Then he finally got the money back thanks to Facebook. And then recently, I'm not sure if he recovered from it. Recently, all his cars, they had wheels stolen and the glass busted out.
Yeah.
So he had a bunch of display cars, man. And that's one of the things here that people don't realize. Japan is very nice, but there are malicious people here. And one of the recent things that we've seen coming up, just out of the blue, and it's not like this is new, but actually I won't say the company's name because I don't want to. But the guys out there who know what I'm talking about, it's all around the internet. It's overwhelming evidence showing that these cars have been stolen on July, and in August, the parts are for sale as a clip with identifying parts, man. So like for that, the theft, man, like in your circle, have you heard anything, regarding the situations or,
Oh yeah, man. I think it's a terrible situation, but I think this has been kind of happening for a while. And it's over the past few years. I keep hearing stories about like these guys who are having like their Subarus or Evos stolen or Supras or RX-7s. And people will like literally chase people down, especially Skylines. Skylines keep getting stolen like crazy, and it's a really difficult situation, because there's a lot of things that we don't know. We can only speculate, right? And so who knows if it's like one group or if it's like multiple groups or if it's like a syndicate or if it's like really organized. Like it seems like it's kind of like connected as like an organized crime thing, to be honest. And as more information kind of like gets out, it's like a lot of like dots are like starting to connect together. Of course, like nobody wants, especially when we have big platforms, like we don't want to be like, so that's what I'm kind of like tiptoeing around. But I guess what I would say is, living in Japan is just like very safe in general, especially like thefts are like, they never happen to the point where multiple times I've literally left a wallet with like $300 in it because you just carry on money without much, wallets without much money in it. Japan is such a cash-based society that like sometimes I'll have like 500, $600 in my wallet, and I don't even think about it. It's like not even a big deal, right? Because I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna use it throughout the month. So it's like just take the money out once instead of having to go to the ATM a bunch of times.
Multiple
right?
times.
So I'm not some big baller. I'm just like throwing all this money around.
Yeah. No.
I'm saying it's like it's the opposite actually. It's like I don't want to spend that 200 yen to pull money out again.
Like
you know what I'm saying? But and yeah, and then a couple times I literally left my wallet in a train, and then 3 days later I went and picked it up at the station because somebody had turned it in to the station staff, and I was able to get the wallet, and it still had money inside it. And like another time I left it at the Hub of all places. You know the Hub, it's like this sketchy bar. It's like a chain of sketchy British style pubs. And yeah, I mean, I dropped my wallet on the counter, beside the counter, and I came back 3 hours later, and I just got it back. So as a whole, like people in Japan, like Japanese folks, in my experience, have a very high standard of integrity. So thefts don't really happen. There might be like one or two like exceptional cases. Maybe if it's tied to like organized crime, like Yakuza, right? But it's not even that, like, or it would be more like Chinpira, which is like the youth gangs, right? And that those are the guys that would actually like later on become indoctrinated into more organized crime, like the Yakuza. But like the actual like Japanese organized crime groups, they'll do stuff more like protection money or money laundering, or they'll set up like businesses that seem to be legitimate, but actually are making money in different ways, but not straight up stealing cars. And from what I have, the reports that I've heard where people have chased down folks who are like stealing cars, it's like they tend to be actually not Japanese. They're like foreigners, right? And it's very it's a difficult topic because I don't want to speculate on nationality, and I don't want to.
Yeah. And we both of us been Gaijins. That's the thing too, because I posted that somebody added me to the group, and I was kind of reluctant to join. Then I wanted to see this like the group that's going around Facebook, and I might actually leave because I don't want to be like there to be like a sweep through there and then my name to be tied to anything. And you got to be. It's not that we're not exercising cowardice. It's just again we're connected to different things. Your channel's my channel, then your job and everything. You got to be careful about.
That's true.
You guys,
I'm thinking about it from a perspective of like let's say like there's a YouTuber who released a video about this already, and what I don't want to do is, and not saying that he did, is capitalizing on this situation, but I don't want to capitalize on this situation for views because I don't need to. This is not something that I need to from a growing my brand perspective. Like it's more like I would want to help move the investigation along in somehow by maybe letting somebody who has connections or letting more people know basically about what is going on, like in terms of like the facts. And right now, like there's a lot of like sleuthing going around where people are like searching on Google Maps and then they're insinuating like this person's house is tied to, and then actually there's a lot of like really interesting connections that people are making. Like, so for example, like the supplier has the same name as like the company in question, which is like really sketchy, right? But at the same time, like just in case I'm wrong, it's like the same thing where you don't want to wrongly accuse somebody, right? Yeah, like there needs to be more evidence, and I think if it comes to the point where I do feel like, okay, this is legitimately like there is like some really shady thing going on. Like I might put out a video. But then, you know, like you brought up a point I wasn't even thinking about, which is the fact that that may cause you to be targeted. And I hadn't even thought about that. But that you know, like that's actually like a legitimate concern, right? Especially if you have like a business where people know where it is, and you know they're like you never know what's going on, especially with organized crime, how they might retaliate. So I don't know, man. It's I would hope that, you know, legit, like the authorities would jump on this case. And from what I did here, it's what I heard. What I mean by that is like I read some Facebook comment, and somebody said like apparently some jurisdiction is assigning a detective to look into this. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
it's something.
Sure. It's a detective, which is singular, which is one guy. Because that's one thing here is like you mentioned before, the theft, like getting your wallet back. They're not saying that some of the Japanese, there's not bad people. There's bad people everywhere, but because there's so little crime, so little theft, and even though those numbers there overall, they don't see it that much and it's spread out, or it's focalized into one area. They don't have a need to have, like, for example, New Jersey. They got like a Grand Theft Auto unit all over, because that's a common thing in the States. Mm-hmm. But here, like you say, just like your story, man, I remember going to Fukushima I went for 4 days to race, a drift or whatever, and I left my garage. I had an automatic clicker. I left something. I went to go there and I hit the clicker, but I was so in a hurry to get on the road that I didn't watch my garage go down. Yeah. It actually went up.
Yeah.
So my entire house,
just open,
computers, projectors, open, man, for 4 days straight. Like, I mean, I had money on the counter. I had this here. I had tools there. Open for 4 days. I come back and everything's in the same spot that I left it in. If I was in, I'm from Baltimore, and if you do that, something like that, man, your TV's gonna be gone. Everything's gonna be gone. Your food's gonna be gone, and so you get to that false sense of security being here for so long. With my shop here, man, I spent about $8,000 in security, man, and I probably overdid it, but I rather overdo it with my assets and my customer assets here, and have security. That way, if somebody comes here 2 in the morning, I can see their face at nighttime on my cameras, and it goes to my phone, utilizing technology with sensors and everything, man. So the most irritant or thing that happens here is I got a cat that's somehow getting inside my garage. I got to figure that out. But that's the biggest. My biggest worry is a Neko getting in my garage.
Yeah,
that's it. So I'd rather have that than have to worry about guys coming in here and taking things and doing things. And I get guys, and again, I hate to put it on race, man, but my wife, there's like some Pakistani guys that drops by here, and she never sees them much. So I'm like, look, they do car stuff. We don't know if they're bad or not. And I cut through BS right away, man. So when they come here, I'm like, hey, what do you want? Blah, blah, blah. This is what I'm doing. So I'm trying to shoot people away, but I'm a very busy guy, and I don't do a lot of small talk, to be honest. Workday, weekend, something like that. But so I don't let them linger. So they get the idea that I don't mess around and things like that. And generally when they see me, man, I'm a 240-pound, almost 6 foot black guy with a mohawk. So that kind of, and then they see like they'll come in and see the jiu-jitsu pictures and the medals.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you fight? I'm like, yeah, I fight too. And they're like, okay, so Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so like, yeah, man, it's it's unfortunate that this is going on right now. A lot of the evidence that some of the online detectives are pulling up is matching up and everything. Yeah. But again, it's, until they're really proven guilty, it's better to not, because some guys on there are just spewing things. And also, for me, I don't understand what happened to even get that on, because it just came out of the blue like 4 days ago, and then now it's all over. But this guy's been open for 10 years. So like, what happened to really? Somebody had to post something, and then the internet got a hold of it. And now it just
I think what happened was there's this one Japanese guy who made some posts where I think literally 2 of his cars were stolen. I think it was like an EK9 and then an STI.
The white EK?
Yep. And then the blue GDB, and then somebody was able to connect the dots and be like, hey, actually, isn't this part? And the reason let me recall, I think the reason it was very obvious was a couple reasons. I think the hood of the EK9 was a one-off.
The hood had a tow hook, and then the license plates carrier.
Yep. And then the block, the cylinder block, actually had the same number. And then so it's like, yeah, this is obviously stolen. And then when people are like, okay, so this shop is now selling stolen parts. So that was established pretty quickly. But now, what people are saying, trying to determine is whether that shop was actually in cahoots with the supplier, or they have a network of suppliers and then they're just getting parts from like some whatever suppliers. You know,
Yeah.
and like so definitely there is this sketchy net. At least one supplier is like literally stealing cars and
Right.
selling them, right? Um, and then actually, I remember I think you posted this as well, but it's like as you know, when you export cars, it's a very stringent process. It's not, you know,
Yeah.
it's you need to go through all these hoops and with all this paperwork. So there needs to,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Somebody's inside.
that's what I think too. I think you know
Yeah.
somebody's
So
an inside, somebody's getting getting like a kickback for letting
yeah.
this stuff go through onto like the black dealer supplier market, and then
Right.
you know and then they're trying to um like if I were to set up like this kind of organized system, right?
Mhm.
You would want to control both ends of it, right? Like if I'm supplying, I
Mhm.
would also be like, well, why don't I control the end as well, right? So
Right.
I mean, and I don't want to insinuate like that is exactly what's happening, but like from a business standpoint, like if you have the supply, you also want to be able to have the distribution, right? And
Right.
and then if you have both, then you have like an unbeatable business model, right?
Mm.
Only thing is this is based on on like literally stealing people's beloved cars, cutting them up,
Yeah,
right?
man.
And like
Yeah.
if this is in fact the situation, um, and yeah, this is just my speculation, but I feel like it kind of makes it intuitively, you know, because I studied I was a business major, right? Um,
Mm.
in university, and I'm like, yeah, of course, if you have the means, like you would want to set up a company to distribute, and it's not hard, right? It's like
Mm.
you can easily set up you need like a minimal amount of money. The hard part is actually the
Mhm.
supply, right? You can start a website. You can start like a site like in the States or something. You could start like a company in a random
Right.
company like in Delaware. And then you could
Yeah, AKA Amazon.
exactly, right? And like you
Yeah.
pay very little tax.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you could have it's like usually when guys start like this kind of business, like they think, oh, I'm gonna import parts. They don't realize the hard part is like the supply. But if
Right.
you're the supplier, and then you could just make that business and then send it to that business, right? And then sell it to customers everywhere. So I don't know. I feel like I'm overstepping my bounds and like speculating too much, but
Yeah,
you know,
it's too fresh. And the thing, other than the the owners and everything, it's the thing. What really sucks about everything is somebody posted a picture of the number plates, which I posted up. I'm kind of going to stop commenting because again, for me to be a shop owner, I don't need to be like kind of mixed up in that. Not saying I don't want to help out to be involved, but it's just better not to be because like I said, they're gonna be a sweep. This guy's in a Mori, blah blah blah. But the somebody posted the number plates, and this is one thing I do. Like I got to do actually 5 cars tomorrow for number plates. When cars leave here, man, that number plate is a controlled item, and when you lose one of them, guys out there, you got to do a police report. That's why I actually sold 2 number plates before, and I had to get them back because it was so much of a pain in the ass to deregister this car, and I had to give the guys the money back. He had to send it back to me, and I had to turn it in because the cops. I said like 3 times before that I lost a plate drifting, and they're like, all right, after the 4th time, how many got their number plates you're gonna lose?
mm,
So I couldn't use that. Excuse anymore, and that's one of the excuses I used was I lost it. I actually have whatever. I got 2 Y plates here on my wall for my 30. It's a number Y30 and Y32 for my DR30, my R32.
for the memory, right?
But that's a
Yeah.
white plate is a little bit. They don't care too much about the
Yeah.
white plate. That's whatever. But the actual kanji plate guys up there, they're broken in half. They turned in. So the one guy who posted all those number plates, those are still on paper in Japan registered. They're not. They haven't been destroyed yet. So those are all. And somebody brought up the whole Fukushima thing where they were all Fukushima cars or whatever. Whatever the case is, those are not supposed to be sold. So that's like this company, man. I don't. And again, you guys out there all know who know. I'm not going to bring their name up, but there this overwhelming evidence that's not looking good for those guys and their partners. So all I can say out there, guys, kind of like wrapping this topic up, man. Is just when you guys hit me up for business stuff. If it's not 25 years old, if it doesn't have paperwork, I'm not touching it. So it's just one of those things where it's money. Whoever's working at the LTO office, like you said, for maybe 10 years, they were getting paid like they were living well. They probably look like they're living a modest life, but underneath they're getting paid. Somebody's getting paid off to get these documents because the documentation here is very strict. If you don't have one Hunko stamp, you can't register the car, which is why about 15 of my cars don't have documents because they lost the papers. It's not stolen. I checked myself. You can check easily. They lost the papers. The person passes away or dies, and they can't find their Hunko stamp or their Ininjo or Joto Shome or whatever. They can't get the paper. So you know how it works with the paperwork. If you don't get it, you're just screwed, and the car just like becomes a paperweight or a track only car. Which is most of the cars you see in D1 GP is because they don't have paperwork or documents, and they just become off road. So it's very strict here, guys, and you cannot just get away with signing the car off and waiting 60 days and then. You can't do that here.
Yeah, I'm worried, like because of a few bad dealers or suppliers, there's going to be like a crackdown on this industry, and so potentially what might happen is it's going to become a lot more difficult to be able to export these parts.
Yeah, I got 2 phone calls a day already. I got 2 phone calls a day to prove like what you're saying is already happening, man. One guy called me, which was kind of a dry snitching on one guy. They got issues already, so when he's seen this guy is involved, now he's going to parade on it. So he was like, watch out for this guy. I'm like, dude, we know each other, but we don't do any business together, so that's not, I talked to him a little bit and got him off the phone. And one guy, he called me, he's about to get a car, because I've done since 2008. I've and I just checked on the 2 cars a day. 2018, I've done 62 legal exporter cars, which I'm not the exporter. I just set it up and get it to my guy, and he does all the work. I just do the initial paperwork and everything. So, but I got to call one guy and say, hey man, I just want to see how legit you are. I'm like, dude, like go on my website, Google Donald Jackson or whatever. I've been around for 20 years, and I had to like just kind of quickly say, hey man, I'm legit, dude. Like, there's nothing you're going to find about me. So now people are starting to question. So it's already affecting. I mean, immediately, everybody's wanting to know, hey man, do you get stuff through this company? I'm like, no, I don't. I never actually heard of this company until 4 days ago.
Yep.
Because everything is JDM this, JDM that. So there's 1,000 JDM somethings out there that sell the same stuff or whatever. So, it's luckily all I can say, man, is just I'm just glad that I didn't get tempted, because it's easy. Being in this industry, I'm privy to a lot of things behind the scenes, and it's easy to get into that thing where you want to get quick money, but it's nice to get that money for 10 years and then bam, you get busted, and then all that money's gone. You're going to jail. You're going to lose everything you worked for. So, that's why I stay straight.
Yeah, I mean, I hope for these people to get what's coming to them, and I mean, it'll be extremely satisfying to see justice be served. So I'm hoping out. This is like some real life Fast and Furious shit, man.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna post, but I didn't want. It's so you want to, because I know when I got injured to build and stuff like this, so I shouldn't be on that thing anyway. But it's like, dude, I don't wonder when the first Netflix special is gonna come out, because this is gonna, once this gets blown wide open, on a scale of so many, like you got, I just watched the Epstein thing last night. And I never, on Netflix, and I didn't, I heard about the whole Epstein thing, and I'm pretty sure you know Epstein and all that stuff. And I never looked into it, because I'm like, dude, I got so much stuff over here on my plate that I don't have that's not something I'm gonna use my energy towards. Then I watched that documentary last night. Like, I didn't know it was like hundreds of girls, and then he had a network of, I'm like, dude, this dude was like this, like he had like young chicks served to him every night. Like if you didn't want to do it, then she would get her friends to do it. Her friends would get her friends to do it. So he was paying $200 to all these chicks. And I mean, it's just like crazy, man, that, people will do things for so many years, man. And then like eventually, technology is a great thing and a bad thing, because now it's exposing things. It's exposing businesses. Like back, 10 years ago, everybody couldn't be an exporter. Now, like if you look up on the thing, man, everybody's an exporter now. Everybody's a part seller, and that's why I got out of that part of the game, because it's just too
saturated.
It's too saturated, man. So
I think
it's crazy.
I think exactly like that situation. Especially if you're doing business online, there's like a record of it now, and so and people get lazy, right? You you run this scam for like 10 years and you start getting sloppy. You never get caught, and then you're gonna get caught, and then it's like, oh, it's okay. So you've been doing this for 10 years. All right, that's okay. Okay, well, going right for a long time, buddy. And yeah, man. And
that's major, man. That's major.
Yeah. I think karma is like real, you know, and I just try to be good to people, right? And and things usually work out in your favor, or at least you just don't feel like a terrible person,
right?
And
it's just one of those things too. Like with my business, man, like, you know, I run a very, very, very strict business, because, you know, if you allow, like, you know, passes here, passes there, what's going to happen is collectively all those passes are going to equal up to you having ass pain as an owner. So I don't do that, you know, because every time that I've gone against my principles and gone against my not my principles, but more my system, every time it's resulted in me coming out of pocket for something, or something being messed up or whatever, man. And with all this stuff that's going on, it's just, you know, it's a result of guys, like you say, getting complacent. They want the money. And for me, man, like, you know, my quotes for the work I do, I tell guys, because I'm very confident about this, I can do the same things Top Secret does. It's just Top Secret has been around for 40 something years. They've known and everything, and they don't do anything at that shop that I cannot do or haven't done already. But the fact is, I don't feel that I need to charge a premium. I charge what I charge and I make good money, but I don't have to overcharge. Like you got a Civic, EG Civic. If you do your engine, or not engine swap, but a clutch job on a regular EG Civic B16, it's going to cost this much. But if it's a Type R or whatever, just because it's a Type R, it's going to cost this much more.
Yeah.
Same process, same axle, same nut size, same bolts, same engine mounts. But just because it's a Type R, a DC2, DC5, whatever, it's going to cost more. And that's how Japanese kind of do things. For me, if it costs 8 hours, you're going to get charged for 8 hours plus my service fee and whatever else mixed up in there. And, you know, it's one of the things Japanese see, and they're starting to buy onto it. But my thing is, I don't feel like I have to gouge people on prices. And also, if something's cheaper or whatever, hey, man, it was this much actually, so I give you, you know, $15 back. And people appreciate that. Just giving you $15 back, and that you paid $3,000 for labor, but I give you $15 back. It just, they feel like, you know, and I do that because I keep it straight. And every night I go to sleep, every time I leave my shop, I do not feel like I screwed this guy over, man. I don't have that weight, because that weighs down on you. And these people who are getting screwed now by this car stuff, they just don't care. They just see their personal gains, and they just don't, you know, some people just don't. They're like sociopaths.
Oh yeah, and it becomes like you find a way to justify it, right? You're like, oh, I have a family now. Oh, I got to keep doing this because how well I got to put food on the table. You know, it's like, I know it's bad, but it justifies. People find so many ways to justify the things that you're doing, right? But you know, it catches up to you, because when you don't run a tight ship, when you have a business that doesn't have integrity, then you end up like you end up taking the easy way out all the time,
right?
And then you don't build any discipline, right? Or you get lazy eventually, or you get sloppy, and then that's when, you know, the house cards falls down, right? So
every time,
yeah, man. Let's talk about S2000s, because how awesome are
they?
Right?
So we're right, because one thing I want to start doing is getting into like we're at an hour and. We had an hour and 33 minutes. Don't feel like a long, but like 1:45, hour 45 is like when I'm trying to get him at. But I don't want to put any limits on it. But that's 2000, man. You got that, and I watched your video, man. I was very happy for you when you got that out. So like initially, man, like when was your first time driving that 2000, and like what was your? Because it seemed like you really really wanted this car. Like what was your infatuation with this car?
I mean, I've been infatuated with this car pretty shortly after I got the Miata. Actually, so I just love the way it looked, right? And the more I read about it and the more I researched about it, I was like, man, this is such a cool car. But at the time, like the Miata, it also has its own charm, right? So I was really always happy to have the Miata, but I was like, you know, one day I want to own an S2000. So it was kind of like aspirational. And I was like, I didn't know anybody who owned one. And the first time I drove one actually was Randy Trong. So he's a YouTuber in California, and he runs a brand called Eliminate. And yeah, one time I just hit him up, we became friends, and I was over there for a business trip, and he's like, "Oh yeah, let's hang out." And so we hung out, and he let me drive his S2000. It was like a slammed S2000. Um, but immediately I was like, "Man, this is cool. This is a dope car." And then no, actually no, this goes way back before that. That was just the first time I drove it, but like the first time I was really fell in love with the car was in like the Gran Turismo days. You know, it's like. Um,
Yeah, I was on the cover of Gran Turismo 2.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that's a big thing. You know, like when it's the hero car on the cover, it's like, you know, it's like of course you're gonna want it. And so you know, for me that was always kind of like a halo car, especially like a yellow one, right? That's why I wanted like a yellow Miata in the first place. And then you know what one of my best friends here now, Captain Bradford, he's got another channel called JDM Masters. So he's like a Honda historian. You know, he knows everything about everything Honda. It's like he can tell you like the exact like length of the stroke of like every single like Type R, right? Like this guy's a total maniac.
Yeah.
And you know he would just always sing the praises of like Type Rs and like S2000s and say how it's like this incredible car. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And you know I always wanted one, and then I started looking into it like several years ago, where I was like, okay, you know, the step up from the Roadster is going to be like an S2000 someday. And I was looking into it, and I was like, at the time, man, like 5 or 6 years ago, like you could find like a ratchet, like a janky one for like $6,000. And I was like, you know, that's not that much more than my Miata cost, right? So I was like, you know, maybe I could like sell the Miata, save up for a few months or something, and buy the S2000. There were a couple ones along the way, but like those all fell through, and thank God they did, because they were all pretty janky. And I was like, you know, the more I thought about it, I was like, I want like a really, really nice one. Because as you know, there's like a big difference between like the JDM cars from that era. They don't make them anymore. And you can buy them like really cheap, but if you buy it really cheap, you'll have like a bunch of problems, and there'll be like a love-hate relationship, because you're always paying for something. But if you buy a one that's in really good condition in the first place, then you'll just spend all this time like enjoying it. So this was kind of like how I was thinking about it, and once I changed my thinking, I was like, okay, how am I going to get like the S2000 like of my dreams, basically? And I thought, you know, there's just so much satisfaction of being able to own a car that you dreamed about like in the Gran Turismo days, and have that car in real life, like at, you know, whatever your age is, like later on in life, right? and to be able to have like a nice one, a good quality version of it, right? So I was like, you know, I want to set this goal to get it when I hit 200,000 subscribers. And I actually decided this on February 20. And then when I decided this, I was sitting on a train going back home from work, and I was like, I'm make this decision. I'm gonna make a post about it, just to have a record of it. And I looked down on my phone, and it was exactly 2000, yeah, which is 8 o'clock, right? But it was like 2000.
Right.
So I was like, oh shit, this is like the twos, right?
You're right.
So I made the post. And then like a bunch of life stuff happened, which was basically, you know, they basically announced to my audience that I wanted this S2000s, like this big aspirational thing. And then I put my Roadster up for sale. Which was actually really hard. Because then I realized, like, actually, no, I really love this car. And it was this interesting situation for a while. I took it to Ebisu Circuit. And I just had so much fun with it. I kind of like fell in love with the car all over again. And actually what happened was, on the very, very last run, it's always the last run, but last run of the day.
Yep.
I sent it into the wall. Like, just like, it wasn't hard, right? Like, I actually don't know how I managed to like not just like wreck the car then and there, but it just very lightly tapped the wall. And it was like this much. It's like hang on. It was like, can you see this? Like the fender went in like this much. So it was like, so I could literally have like fender rolled it, right? And that's actually what I did. And then there was just like some paint. And then but when that happened, I was like, you know what? I'm going to respray the car. I'm going to put over fenders. I'm going to put a turbo in it, and it's going to be reborn.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not the time for an S2000 yet. So I was like, this.
You probably taking a page out of Keisuke Takahashi book with the RX-7.
Right. It's like you realize you love the car, and then you want to take it to the next level actually. And so I was like, I fell in love with the car again, and I'm like for the time being, I wasn't thinking about S2000s anymore. I was like, okay, let's build this car out and make it awesome. And then 2 weeks later, I got into this huge accident and I just almost died. It was crazy. Like I was literally just driving down the street, right? I was just like minding my own business on the way back from the conveni, and bam. And that was kind of like a big I guess like turning point, I guess, in my life, because I remember so clearly like the fraction of a second before the impact. Like I slammed on the brakes and the wheels locked. And but it was too close. Like there's no way to avoid it, right? Like it was basically it was a blind corner. What happened was it was a blind. It's not exactly a blind corner, but like the low visibility, and there was actually somebody stopped there, and then they or I'm not sure if it was stopped completely or if it was approaching stop, but it suddenly just went forward, and there was a stop sign. Later on. So it was actually an old lady, and then so she said, "Oh my gosh, I think it was not her car either. It was a Daisha, which a loaner car from her son's company, and her son had loaned her the car because her car had been in an accident, another accident. I don't know the details of it. But she's like, "Oh, I'm not used to it. Maybe I stepped on the gas instead of the brakes. Like it just didn't make sense, right? But anyways, so like." Right before the accident, I remember like the fraction of a second where I realized it was going to be a hit, and it was going to be like a pretty hard hit. And I was like, there's like no way to avoid it. And I was just like, oh man, like this sucks. Like I'm not done all these things I want to do yet. So I was like, first I was thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to hit, and this is going to be terrible. Then next I was thinking like, oh God, like I don't think I'm going to get out of this. Just walk away from this. I think I'm going to break my arms or my legs or something. And then I was like, oh shit, I might not, like, what if like I was like, oh man, the build quality of this car, right? It's like, am I going to be able to take it like a direct hit? And then I was like, oh God, what about her? Like the other driver. So all these things were just like running through my mind. And then the hit, and then we collided. And then, like moments later, we both stepped out of the car. And I was just like, wow, that's like, I was like, I felt like I got like a new leash on life. And I thought, like I looked at my car, and it was like, on one hand, I was devastated because it was totaled. But I was like, car is a car. It's fine. Like, I'm okay. I literally walked away with like no injuries. What am I doing with my life? Like, actually, no. Right before the impact, I remember thinking, yes, I am on my right path. I'm just really frustrated. Like now it's all gonna change if I'm even gonna walk away from it. So after I walked away from it, I was like, it was kind of like like it reminded me of what was important, but it also vindicated what I had been doing up until this point, which is I'm like, yeah, this is what I should be doing. This is my mission. There's a lot of stuff I'm working on like that's not YouTube related, which is kind of like more career focused. And I'm like just so happy that I was able to keep being able to go down this path. So and then anyways, I was like, now okay, I don't have a car. Well, actually I do, but like I don't have a Miata anymore. This is I guess this is the time to look for S2000s again. And then my friend Masaki, he actually randomly rented, as a graduation present for himself, he rented a Type S. And he was like, hey Albo, I'm gonna go for a drive to Hakone tomorrow, but I'm in the area. Do you want to take it for a spin? So I was like, yeah, sure. And so I drove it, and this is the first time I had a chance to drive like the S2000 on like a proper S2000 on some back roads. And I was like, yeah, boy, this is it. Like, this is it, Chief. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, like I understand completely why it you can why a good one costs the same amount as like a new BRZ or a new 86. It's a better car. It's actually a better car, in my opinion. Like a janky S2000 is not better than like a brand new ND Miata. But if they're in comparable condition, I think the S2000 is actually better. It's just a better vehicle.
Right.
Just because it was made at a time where there were less compromises.
Right.
And so I drove that, and then a couple days later, I have another friend, a guy named Jackie, who was who said like, "Oh, hey Albo, I heard you're looking for an S2000. I actually have one for sale." Like he had bought it like in November, and it's like this really clean AP1. And the previous one I drove was an AP2, the Type S. So then when I drove the AP1, I was like, "Oh, the AP1 is crazy," because the 9,000 RPM redline, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
and there's more twitchy in the back.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like one of the things that was kind of keeping me from immediately making a decision to buy like an AP1. So I was like, but then I researched it more, and if you do things like change the toe in, if you put like a rear AP2 sway bar, the rear sway, and you have like better suspension, you can really tame that rear end. So I was like, okay, well, there are these two options, and then so I started like looking at basically I set a budget, and I was like, what is like the best car I can get for like this budget, AP1 or AP2? And man, AP2s are so expensive in Japan. Dude, they're so expensive. It's like 25, 30, 35, 40 grand. And if you want like a yellow AP2, it's like 35. If you want a Type S, it's 40 to 45 to 50. It gets really, really crazy. And I was glad I got the chance to drive the AP1, because actually the AP1 is so exciting. It's like 20% more exciting than an AP2, because that last little bit, like the AP2 will rev to like 8,300, right? But because I'm not sure if it's because it has less torque, but relatively it feels more crazy because of that. So when it revs from like 6,000 RPM to like 9,000 RPM, it's so exciting. It gives you like a feeling that's like indescribable. And I've got a really fast other car, which is like the Subaru Forester STI. And it's a turbo car, it's super fast, but the S2000 is exciting in a way that those cars are not. It feels like an F1 car, like as you know, right?
Yeah. If you ever, a lot of people never seen S2000 with its fenders off, and I've seen pictures of it, but when I got my S2000 out, because a lot of guys will know when I got my S2000, you look on the videos and the old ones, it was a crash car. So I cut the whole. I got my S2000 for 0 yen. Like it was a crash car. The guy was going to junk it. I was like nah. So I got it from him. I'll link the video down in the thing so you guys can see that. I got it from him in 3 weeks from crash. Cut the whole front end off. I made a pipe frame because it's obviously never going to be on the road as a regular car again. But the suspension geometry was all 100%. So it was a perfect accident. And S2000 has a really big front dead zone for the guy. Is a really, really soft crumple zone that kind of, low end crash, you can kind of like take the core off and continue on. But if you take the fenders off, the front of the car, man, is the shape of it, front of an Indy car, F1 car. Like the whole dams and the whole you see, the guys out there who watch IndyCar or F1, you see like the nose, and then like on the nose it kind of bows out. The S2000 is made just like that. It's like an F1 car. The steering rack is out front. It's like out front of the engine. So it creates a very different kind of feel with the electronic steering rack. So the AP1, again, from putting that back together in 3 weeks, painting it, doing a roll bar and all that stuff, and then going on the track, and eventually mine is turbo as well. Man, it's to drive that car, man. I was just, you could see my helmet, dude. Like I was smiling, like I was like, dude, I can't believe I have an S2000, and I paid 0 yen for. I mean, it cost about $3,000 to put it back together, and it's definitely, it's this. The purpose of this car is a straight Tsukuba and everything and stuff like that. So it's still, I got paperwork for it. I can drive it on the road. I do put stripe plates on it sometimes, and I drive it. But the Yeah, it's just been sitting for a little bit. I got it back. I actually sold it, guys. I sold it, and then I bought it back, man. And I was like,
this is a common thing for S2000 owners, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sell it, regret it, buy another one, buy the same one.
No, but to actually, I bought my same one back. I bought the same one I sold. I bought it back from the guy. Yeah. It was minus the. I had a wing on it that I was building around. I had the first in Japan Street Faction chassis mounted wing, and he sold it to a guy in another shop, and he ended up going Tokyo along with it. So it's actually getting good use. And he took the turbo kit off because I didn't have the ECU for it, and put it back to NA. So the turbo kit's all in the trunk. So now I got to put that back as a one-off turbo kit with a engine bay mount, and cooler, and all that good stuff.
What's it like? What's a turbo SDK like?
Dude, it's like I guess it would be similar to like doing meth and mushrooms at the same time. Maybe like I never done it, so I don't know how it is. But it's already and then this going to 9,000 RPMs with boost it's crazy, but it was untuned. So actually, to go faster, you had to go slower on the throttle because if you do full throttle, the what is it, man? The map sensor would max out. So I got the new map sensor, but I just got to get a Haltech, which I got coming in next week for that. So even though Corona's going on right now, I'm trying to get all that stuff ready, but I'm definitely now that you got yours, man. My S2000 buddy that I had before left, and we used to go to the track together. So I'll definitely once I'll probably try to coordinate it in between bringing the car down for work. I'll bring my S2000 down, and we can link up and drive around. Because like I said, my S2000 is real legal. It's just I put stripe plates on it. So I can put stripe plates on it, take it out to Dyco, and link it with you or whatever, man.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
We'll definitely do something.
Yep.
We'll definitely do something S2000 X Super or something. So I'm looking forward to that, man, and everything. But yeah, man, like I said, we're at 1 hour and 51 minutes, man, and like I feel like we can like talk forever because this is our first time like actually talking.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about it, man, is like I like the podcast stuff because the podcast we do our thing on the videos, but it's I kept my same channel, but people on the videos you try to keep those like 15 20 minutes or whatever before people die off. So like I like the podcast because it's a long format. We can talk about more things, and also it just lets you like I'm learning like I sit back and listen, man, and I learned you had 2 Miatas, and I didn't know. I thought you were here for like maybe 5 years. You've been here 10 years, so we got here around the same time. I got here 2008 August.
Oh,
1st.
nice! You got here right before me. Yeah, that's 2010. But yeah,
yeah. So we've been here about the same time. We've been about through the same stuff. We were here through the earthquake. I got back from Iraq the day before the earthquake, and then I actually helped out with a lot of that stuff. Yeah, so we took the workers down there and took the stuff down there to Sendai and all those places. So I love this country, man. I got my wife. I got a Japanese wife, 3 kids, and Japan has its quirks like every place, but the pros would outweigh the cons, hands down. So for me personally, I feel it's the same way for you. And so the guys that are just looking to come here, man, just have an open mind, and also. The biggest thing for the guys out there who watch this stuff and you want to really come here, you have to be willing to go backwards a little bit. So if you're a mechanical engineer in the States, unfortunately, when you come here to Japan, if you're not fluent in Japanese, your mechanical engineering degree doesn't hold much weight here. And it sucks to say that, but it's the way it is. They don't care about that. So if you have ASC certifications and you come here, those ASC certifications don't mean anything. You got to get their certifications and do their program. So it's one of those things where most people who come here are overqualified, and you know that. But if you really want to stay here, maybe you have to work at. Dunkin' Donuts was hiring on base here in Misawa, and they would give sofa status, which allows you to live here. But you don't want to swallow your pride and work there and build up and meet somebody and then move on. If you really want to live here, you'll make it happen. And like I say, you're a testament of that.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
and it's definitely a really good thing there. But yeah, man. Before we start talking about another subject, man, any other thing, anything you want to promote, any things you got coming up or things like that, or things that
man. I got a little YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys can come check it out sometime.
Yeah, little.
Search Albo. It might pop up. I'm not sure. There's a whole bunch of them. So make sure to subscribe to my channel. Yeah, man. No, nothing.
I'll get the links. I'll get the links and everything. So because most people just say that just to put it in there, but I'll get all your links and everything, throw it down in the video so people can follow you. But yeah, man, it's just again you're the first actual you're the first YouTuber that I've had on here who's had more subscribers than me. So it's like, you know, and I mean, the thing about my thing is, and you can try to justify the numbers. My channel went from about 3,000 subscribers, and then like I decided to really engage, and I got like 2,000 subscribers within like 3 months, which doesn't seem like a lot, but YouTube has changed, and I know I'm not damning YouTube because I know they're getting a lot of trash right now because, you know, Joe Rogan's going to Spotify, so everybody's trying to jump ship now. I'm like, nah, dude, that's Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's in a different stratosphere with all the stuff he does. And you know what I mean? So everybody's like, I see a lot of people like, oh yeah, so now all of a sudden YouTube is like the worst thing in the world, when 3 weeks ago you were saying YouTube is the best thing in the world. So I'm not trashing YouTube. YouTube is actually, my numbers, I got 5,800 subscribers or something like that, but I've made, as a result of my podcast, arbitrary numbers. I've probably made, since I started my podcast, I've probably made maybe $22,000 in like selling parts and doing stuff. You know what I mean? And it's not, business stuff, you got, business is expensive, but again, you don't have to have all the subscribers out there, people who are watching, to have everything. Again, it's your network, the stuff you put out there, and when stuff people see, you can get there. And eventually those numbers will go up because eventually you'll see that and everything will coincide and everything. But the guys out there, don't get discouraged. You know, you're not, for your channel, before we get out of here, like, how was your progression? And it's going to start a conversation.
Oh man, yeah, it's super interesting.
The progression in your numbers, like, how did you, like, go ahead, yeah, you know what I'm asking.
So the way it works, right? It's like you grind and grind and grind. You get like kind of like this, right? But then if it can be really gradual, but if you have like a slam dunk, like super hit, it's like literally like this. It's like a hockey stick.
Bam, yeah.
And then you'll have like a day with like 7,000 subscribers, and you're like, what is even going on? And then you're like, you realize you struck a nerve. So that's part of the game of YouTube, which is to keep trying different things to see what works. It's not an easy game. I think also, like you were saying, it's like the size of your subscriber base doesn't necessarily correlate with the amount of impact that you have. And you can certainly have a subscriber base like under 10,000 and still give them such value that maybe you sell a product or something, and then you're able to you're able to monetize like an audience which is much smaller than like a huge YouTuber, right? Like, just because you're giving them so much value, right? You're making something that they need, or you're providing a service that they will be happy to pay for, right? And like you have like a business which is like perfectly tailored for that, where you have basically, like, I'm sure like a lot of your customers were people who watched your channel before, right? It's like they built up that trust, and because of like you don't need like 1 million subscribers. You can. It totally depends.
It'd be nice to have it.
And then you're playing a different game.
Yeah. Right? It is a different. That's a different lane where, again, the guys will bring it up because they'll be like, oh man, how you only have you're a pro driver, you do all this, you have a shop, you're the only African American guy in the whole Japan with a shop or whatever, and all these other things that to them correlates into I should have 2 million subscribers, like Joe Rogan has 7 million or whatever, and it's just going up and down. So now the thing about it, man, is so fickle, man, that now as soon as he announced the Spotify thing, automatically about 2 million of those people are gonna not, because they just don't want to transfer over or whatever, even though it's free or whatever they're gonna do or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just like, man, again, you can go from being like this to you can have 10,000 subscribers, but only maybe 5,000 of those people are actually really engaged, while the rest are just there. They don't lose their account. So a lot of guys don't realize, of that whole mass, you'll have like a core of 500 that'll be. And I mean, I'm not knocking YouTube, but it's definitely something that's noticeable. About 3 years ago, when they started doing the monetization differently, and they started taking the kids away, I would average about every video. I would average about maybe 3,000 views, and then like overnight, and I'm not sure if you've seen this, maybe you haven't, but overnight, one of my buddies was like, "Hey man, I'm guys are getting unsubscribed, they're getting notified and things like that." And again, it's not a knock. The algorithms are different, new software, and now I average it doesn't bother me because I got enough. I average about maybe 300-400 views, but and I could be like, oh man, that sucked. I'm like, dude, but you know, again, your content and what you make is a different lane. And what I'm doing, I'm just like I call it Pinku style TV now. So I got my podcast, and next day you'll see me at the track drifting. Then next day you'll see another podcast, and then the next day you'll see me putting a car for sale online. So it's a different thing.
It's interesting, man. And then part of the thing, right, is like it can be frustrating. I definitely feel the frustration of like every creator, and I feel it too. It's like a lot of it, your channel. It's like you look at somebody who's making the same content you are, or like even worse.
Right.
You're like, man, my
right.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Dude, I get so frustrated when I see like there's this one guy. His entire channel is literally cutting things in half with a hot knife. Right? It's like he takes a knife and cuts like a tennis ball. 2 million views. 15 million. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But sorry, it's hard to come back from that because.
No. That's like it's perfect, man. Because then you really do that. Like some guy posted a thing, a meme, and he was putting on a sergeant major like a E8, E9 or whatever in the army, and he had a Joker face on. He's like, some kid on YouTube is 8 years old making this much money, millions of dollars, and I'm going to work, and it's just like they figured it out, and then like now you see those trends, like it got oversaturated, and I knew YouTube was going to do it, and that actually is not a bad thing, because after you get so many toy unboxing, it's like how many channels you're going to have. So now, you know, I'm pretty sure you know because you create. It's like now is it for kids? Is it not for kids? Because as far as I understand, they're not monetizing kids content anymore.
Yeah, definitely part of it is like you have to. It's all choices, right? So you can make like a choice, like start a channel in saturated niche. Then it's going to be relatively harder than if you chose a non-saturated niche. And then you could choose like for example, like toy reviews, right? The barrier to entry is really low, where you might be the first to start, and that'll give you like a nice boost. But anybody could start buying toys, right? And just the same with like cars. It's like there's so many people with nice cars who can start making videos about cars. I think if I had started like 5 years later, I would have been. I probably would have been like much less successful, or just in terms of growth. But that's specifically if you only rely on just the algorithm. And the thing is, like, the algorithm is like really, really fickle. Like, you know, YouTube will change it like all the time. They'll change like all these factors and stuff. But if you do stuff like you collaborate with like this situation like here, for example, right? Or let's say you're doing your thing, and let's say Kevin Hart, or like you know, like Exhibit or somebody they come to Japan randomly, and you're like, and you're like, and you've been doing your thing for 20 years. This you know, there's like a drifter, and then like let's say he wants like to do like a music video shoot or something, right? And it's like, oh no, you're the guy, and then you do this thing. So what I'm saying is like you grind for like 10 years, and then you basically get a break, and then things go like that, and then so everybody just quits like halfway because they just rely on the algorithm, which is gonna put you on a little bit, but eventually that's why I think you got to play a bigger game, and this is like what you do, right? So if you want to if like professional YouTuber, that's very hard to become super big in, because everybody's shooting for that goal. So I was like, I don't want to be a professional YouTuber. I want to be like, I want to make movies and stuff, right? I'm not there yet, but it's like it's that path now. So I'm like, if I want to get there, what do I have to do differently from all the other YouTubers? And like, not saying there's anything wrong with what they're making. A lot of people are making amazing content, like with huge subscriber numbers, right? Like Adam LZ, he just blogs about his life, 3 million subscribers, right?
Yeah.
And that's great for them, but like just because like they're able to, they had the sense to keep going. Like they had a similar moment of like maybe the algorithm put them on, or something put them, and people will just quit before that happens, right?
Yeah.
So you know, for me, I had that moment. Then I had a realization. I'm like, okay, this is how it works. You grind for like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Nothing happens, but you love it, so you just keep doing it. And then eventually you get noticed. And then it goes like that. And then you get to like here. and you're like, okay, now I'm like here, and you keep going, like, so you expect it to just keep going forever, but actually it peters off after like a month or two, and then you're like on like now you're on like stage 2, and then so like every video you put out will actually get like relatively like more, but then to get to that next level again, you need to kind of recreate that situation just to get to the next stage. So yeah, that's how I think about it. And you can think about it that way in terms of growth, or you can also think about how can you provide more value to the people who are already following you, and then you don't necessarily need like 1 million subscribers or something. You could have like 50,000. There's this theory called 1,000 true fans, and the way it goes is like you only need like 1,000 people who really love what you're doing, to the point that they're like huge fans of you, right? And they're like, if you write a book, they would buy it. So it's the same thing, right? You know, it's like you can have like people who are really big fans of you, or you could have people who are like, you know, they follow like Lil Yachty or something. But if he dies, you know, it's just like, oh, he died. You know, they're just following. He's just a famous person, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it's better, I think, to just have integrity, and like I see what you're doing, like as you were explaining with your shop, right? You know, it's just like you do you, and then you work hard, and like you just meet people.
Yeah, and eventually it'll come along, man. Because it's one of those things where, like, you know, with I've been in Drifting Goku magazine like 5 times, and the biggest thing, the reason why now I'm actually going towards Option magazine, because a lot of guys, like you mentioned before, drifting. Before I got into drifting, I was actually into drag racing. Before I got into drifting, I was also doing road racing. So I enjoy grip just as much as drifting, but I have to now, because my channel for like you say, people knew me for drift videos, and even like my icon or whatever, and all the intro and all that stuff like that. They associate you with that, and also when they came to my shop, they think I was the only drifter, and also drifters have a bad misnomer of being like hacks, and I'm far from a hack, so I had to tell guys, no, dude, I do grip. So now actually I've my style is not changed a little bit, but the target, like I actually haven't built a single drift car for a customer, and not zero. Like I said before, man, I don't make any money from drifters because drifters are inherently cheap. I'm a drifter, so I know how it is. So you can't be a drifter and go to shops, because you would never make it. You have to learn how to do your own body rig, paint, and everything. You really, as a grip, the guys who make money for shops are grip and street guys, because they generally just drive. They don't really do too much mechanic stuff. So all my work, all my business is run by guys who want a nice street car or track guys or grip car guys. So I grip race and everything. I'm actually pursuing my pro license in grip, because I already got pro license in drifting.
Oh, that's sick. I want to do that too.
Because it's like you got to do that whole side. So now all that stuff I did to get my pro license in drifting, I got to kind of start over. But because I got pro license in drifting, it bumps me out of that the beginner stage. Yeah, 'cause I've already got pro level grip driving skills. You just got to show it. So you got to get the JAF level B license, and you got to go to the JAF level A license, and you got to do this trial and all that stuff. The thing is, I have the cars, no problem there. I got the trailers, and also because I'm not military, I can go anytime I want. So now I'm in a position where I can show up at the track on Thursday, practice and qualify and do all that stuff. So it's just one of those things where guys are there, man. Like I said, you're a testament to it again. Like you say, man, there'll be that picture where the dude is picking that X in the tunnel, and the diamond's right there, and he just stops right there in that wall. That picture, man, you know, and people just stop too easy. I had a few guys quit a podcast after 4 episodes. Cause he's like, hey man, man, nobody's tuning in, man. I try to get this guy. I'm like, dude, you're 4 podcasts in. They want to see the value before they commit in, man.
Oh yeah.
So the production level and things like that. And I'm like, dude, like you can't quit after 4 episodes. Just keep doing them. Like, you know, I'm at 50. This is going to be 58. Yep, podcast number 58. Yeah. If you look 40 podcasts ago, it was like the quality. I was doing it in my other shop. It was sped up. I didn't have the production I have now. I got the lights. Everything is here now. So I got the better mics and everything. Yeah. So that's 40 episodes of change, and you can see the progression.
And also the reason you kept going is because it's fun. Like that's basically it.
Doing this therapeutic, like just like.
Yeah, man.
Because I don't talk. Again, I'll be in my shop for 14 hours a day. I don't talk. I don't say a single word to anybody because I have reservations. I talk to the customer a little bit and I go back. So just to talk to you right now, man, it's like, you know, bouncing ideas off of each other. A lot of people don't realize how important that is and everything, man. But again, man, now we're at 2 hours and we're 2 hours and 9 minutes, man. So again, man, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna get out of here. It's 9. My wife is bugging me, and I'm not done. I got about another 3 hours of car work. So yeah, man, it's that grind, man. And
yeah,
again, man, I really respect what you do, man, and I'm very happy to be call you a friend. And we'll definitely make the relationship physical, as I see a lot of guys get weirded out by that we never met in person. And one of my guys like, hey, nah, man, we can't get physical, but yeah, man, it's just to have a YouTuber who understands the grind, all the stuff behind the scenes and everything is a very thing. Because again, my channel's not at that level of yours, but I shot a lot of videos, and I remember, another story before I go out. I remember spending I spent about $500 on a weekend. I went out to BSU and I shot a whole series of G1 GP because I couldn't drive and I had the money, but I had the money to go down there, and I did some other stuff. So I shot that thing from start to finish. It was my highest viewed video, and I was like, dude, this is the thing. It was got like 10,000 views or something like that. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, bro, getting content is, people don't realize how expensive it is.
Yeah.
To get to the place, to shoot it, to edit it, to do all this stuff, the hotels, the food, the gas, and all for like a couple 100,000 views, man. And then you do it again. So like a lot of people, they just see the content and they see the content come up, they click on it and they enjoy it, but they don't realize creating good content, man, is a very good effort, man. So again, I really take my hat off to you and your content, and it's enjoyable. And I wouldn't, honestly, I know you got little tweaks in your mind that you want to change, man, but I wouldn't change much, man, because your style is good, your presentation is good, the color grading and all that stuff and everything you do, man, it's really good, man.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. So again, man, I'm like, we're gonna get out of here. It's gonna be Donnie in Misawa, Japan, Pinku style, and Albo, and you said you're in Yokohama.
Yep.
All right. Yep. So
Hit me up.
So we're only 8 hours away from each other. We'll definitely do some. We're definitely gonna work together, man. So you definitely see me on his channel and vice versa. He'll come up here, and I got tons of cars, so you can just come up here and drift around and break the car and go back home, and
yeah, man,
I'll fix it.
Teach me how to drift, man.
So I got it. Too easy, man. I'm putting together like 2 cars right now. One is a CA Power S14, just for visitors, just to come up here and thrash. And I got tires and gas and.
Dude, hell yeah, dude, I'll do it. Dude, we should.
Yeah, it's too easy, man.
Let's talk later. Let's figure it out. I'll just go there. I'll just maybe I'll just crash your place for a few days. I'll just work from
easy.
Right. Just do it.
Too easy, man. I got a nice size house and everything. I got the shop here and everything. So we'll definitely talk about that, man. So again, thanks for stopping in. Yeah. And it's going to be Donnie signing off from Misawa, Japan. See you guys later. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share if you like to do all that stuff. Send all your questions to podcast at Pinku Style. Any topics and questions, anything you got, anything you have. I'm an open book. So anything you got, any questions you have. And like I told the guys before, man, one thing I'll tell most guys ask before, the Japanese women, there's not sideways, just like up and down, just like everybody else, man. So yeah, but see you guys later out there. Be safe, be smart. Don't be safe for all this corona. Don't be scared of all this corona stuff, but be smart about your surroundings and situations. But live life as much as you can, and get it done out there, guys. So it's gonna be again Donnie signing off, Misawa, Japan. Albo from Yokohama. See you guys later. Pinku Style out.
Peace.
Jackson out. Peace.